Hey, everybody. First off, thanks for listening to the Endless Song podcast. And if you're enjoying the show, please remember to give us a review on the platform that you listen to us on, because it helps us reach more people who may benefit from the content. Thanks again. And this week, you can come see us live in the wild at the Enchanted Night Market in downtown Salem, Oregon on Saturday, August 2nd from 3 to 10 p.m. We'll have a booth there where you'll be able to record sound bites for us to use in the show. Plus, we're teaming up with our friend from Psychic Shine, Sheyla de Jesus. She'll be offering 20-minute intuitive readings for a mere $40. So whether you're feeling a shift in your expression, a nudge towards something new, or you simply want to feel more inspired, this session offers grounded insight and a little energetic lift. And you can learn more about Sheyla from our vocabulary show with her, as well as her upcoming full-length interview. Or you can go see her at her website at psychicshine.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. This is the Endless Song Podcast with Will and Emily. Hey everyone, today's guest is Sheyla de Jesus, a gifted psychic, medium, healer, and spiritual coach who's been helping people reconnect with their truth for over a decade. Her work blends clairvoyance, intuitive coaching, and energy healing, all grounded in what she calls the gold vibration, the energy of forgiveness, neutrality, and grace. Sheyla specializes in helping people clear old patterns, navigate life transitions, and return to who they truly are beneath the noise. Whether you are on a spiritual path or just starting to explore your intuition, this conversation is an invitation to step into more clarity, healing, and light. And now, Sheyla de Jesus. So, all right. So this is the real episode, the real deal. We threw some vocabulary at you guys with Sheyla, but now we've got Sheyla de Jesus with us right now, and we're going to talk to her, starting with, let's talk awakenings. How did your whole journey to the spiritual and the metaphysical start for you?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I didn't really have I'm looking for something, right? I was 28. And I decided to strip myself of electronics for shits and giggles. And I went to my first medium. My friend recommended, because I was having an allergic reaction and I couldn't figure out what it was. She's like, go to this medium. She's a medical medium. She'll tell you what's wrong with your body. And I was like, oh, here we go. And so to debunk, I went. And she told me I was allergic to chocolate.
What?
And I was angry.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's no way I'm allergic to chocolate.
That's not true.
What?
There's no way. And so to debunk her, and she also was allergic to gluten and anything that causes inflammatory foods. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. This is a while ago, right? And I remember I was like, I'm just going to go on a raw diet. Raw diet, only vegetables, only fruit, nothing cooked, and see what happens. I did that for about 7-8 months, and I ate chocolate, and she was right.
Whoa.
I had a major reaction, and when I started introducing foods back, I was like, oh, I have a lot of issues with food. Cool. Awesome. What is medium? I'll also preface that she was 65 and she didn't look a day after 40. So I also was like, what is your skincare routine?
Right.
But it wasn't skincare routine. It was that energy. She worked her energy so much that she's like a vampire. So I was like, I'm also interested in that.
Yeah.
What is that? But I couldn't find her again after that. It's like she vanished. And so I had a vacation get canceled. I was supposed to go to Alaska with, at the time, my best friend. And she had to go to Mexico. Her grandma passed, and our trip got canceled. And I was like, damn it. I got the time off, and I got this money to blow. I went on Yelp, and I started finding all these weird things around my house, like a Reiki healer that worked from her house. And I was like, I don't know what Reiki is. Let's go there. What is sensory deprivation tanks? I don't know what that is. Let's do that. And so I kept trying all these, what I thought then were weird things. Yeah. But I have this like secret thing that's always happened. I never identified it as being psychic. But when I met the Reiki healer, I walked to her house. She was that close to my house. I was like, this is weird. Yeah. And I walked in. I was like, oh, she's going to be my friend. Mm-hmm. Like I immediately felt that. I was like, oh, that's going to be my friend. I didn't say that because I was like, that's so silly. I don't want to scare her. And then she called me and she was like, hey, she was practicing to get her master. And she was, I want to practice something. I'll give you a free session. Do you want to come over? And I was like, sure. I mean, it's so funny. She's like, I'll also do you want me to do an oracle card reading on you? And I was like, I don't know what that is. Sure. And I remember her pulling out this card, and I can see the card still. It's like, spiritual teacher. And I looked at her, I was like, I'm not going back to school to teach. Are you crazy? Especially about God? Come on. That's what I thought spiritual work was.
Sure.
Yeah. And then she says, I found this school, this psychic school, and I'm going on a tour actually today in a half hour. Do you want to go with me? And I was like, get in a car with a stranger I just met and go take a tour at a psychic school? Yes. That's lining up to the week I'm having. Mm-hmm. Thank God I didn't go to Alaska. And I remember I go to the school and I get a tour. And here's the small crazy thing is the woman that gave me a tour, her name was Shannon. And she's walking us through the school. And she's only making eye contact mostly with me. And I was creeped out by her because she's psychic. What is she doing? Reading me? Oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't know what's happening. And she's like, there's a meditation class starting next week. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, here's my money. Mm-hmm. Just stop eyeballing me. And so I started this class, and by the 5th week, you learn how to manifest, mock up. And I made a mock up to go to Alaska. I was like, what? I have nothing to lose. Let's see what happens. And I go back to work 2 days later, and a regular customer comes up to me. He's like, hey, how was your trip to Alaska? I haven't seen you in a while. And I was like, it got canceled. And he says, I can get you there, but you have to leave next week. I was like, excuse me? Turns out he's like worked on planes and had a pretty high discount. I went to Alaska, me and my best friend that he'd never met before, for $90. And back then, MySpace was like the thing. Mm-hmm. I walked home, and on MySpace, I had a message from a high school friend that I've lost touch with. You'll never believe where he lives. Alaska. And he asked me, where are you staying? And I was like, at a hostel because I blew all my money. He's like, absolutely not. You're going to stay in my house with me and my family. And we did. And it was incredible. However, he let us roam free, do whatever we want. It was 20 hours of sunlight. And it was a Renaissance fair, my first Renaissance fair. And let me tell you, part of my mock-up when I did my meditation is that I wanted to, like, be a snack, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I've never been the kind of girl that's gotten a lot of male attention or female attention. I would take any of it. And I went to this Renaissance fair, and it was like I was a piece of meat. It was amazing. This guy flung me over his shoulder, and I was like, this is great. I'm being kidnapped. I've never been so happy. When I landed back in Chicago, I said, I'm taking everything. I don't really know what this is. I don't really know how it works, but it works. So what's the next step?
So if there's a class, I'm checking that box.
Yeah.
And so all the boxes are checked. And if we add more boxes are getting checked.
If I could sell anything, it's by like, you want to manifest in a real way and have it come back in 2 days? Yes. I've been trying to go to Alaska for 10 years. And I learned how to do this one thing in meditation. And yes, all the other tools helped me to manifest. I realized like manifesting wasn't just like, oh, think about it really, really hard and wish it. No, it's like you have to be clean in your energy. You have to be present. And that was a part I was missing, right? I didn't have a problem manifesting before the school, but it was like, I want to manifest flowers or rose petals or a good hug, but not a good man, not my dream job.
So this was like a paradigm shift over
100%.
3 weeks.
And it was a secret. I didn't tell anybody. When I did the meditation class, that wasn't a big deal. But when I did a year-long clairvoyant training, I was like, I'm not telling anybody. I was in the corporate world. I could not be seen as back then. That would be really wild, right? And so I kept it a secret. Even like I told my family I was in a meditation class still for a while until things started changing really fast, and I started to realize like, oh, I probably have to say something because I'm ending agreements and I'm acting differently, and they have the right to know, and I should share. Because I've never been the kind of person to hide anything either. And they were nervous for me a little bit.
So did you feel like the shift is happening, and then did you feel like you just needed to gain as much information? Like you just wanted to be a sponge that took up all the experiences that you could possibly bring to yourself and take classes and things? Or were you like, this is what I want to do with my life?
No, it was more of like, I don't know how this works. I don't even know if I really believe in it, but I have proof that it works. And I had so many struggles in my life, and nothing have given me results that I wanted until I got this. And I was like, so I'm going to keep doing it and keep seeing if I can keep getting results and transforming, because there's an absence of who I am, and I haven't been able to put language to it until I found a school. And then I felt like really connected to myself, and I started realizing maybe I've been moving through the world, working through what I'm supposed to be versus who I really am.
Right.
And I never knew there was a difference, or even that wasn't even an idea that I had until I realized like, oh, I can create safety just by grounding. It doesn't mean that I have to make $100,000 a year. 100,000 would still be nice, but do I have to work 50 hours a week to get it?
Right.
No,
Right.
I don't.
It sounds like you started looking at priorities really differently because of this, and not just that, but that whole time you were being given tools to act on how you were seeing these new priorities.
Right.
And did that shift like everything in your life? Did it start becoming a major force in just about every aspect of your life?
It did, but it was hard. Like when I was in the training, I will say I needed extra help because I had this trauma that I thought I had already healed, but I hadn't, because the trauma had then installed programming. And I wasn't even aware, oh, I'm just programmed to behave this way. People pleasing. Always saying yes to a project, even though that I know my plate is full. Right? I didn't know that was a reflection of the trauma experience, and learning how to read the energy and being neutral to the trauma, not because you should be neutral to trauma, but being in the emotional part of the trauma didn't give me enough space to like see a next step or potential or what is my truth, right? I'm actually not a people pleaser, but I behaved as one. And I still hit that every once in a while because it's like an onion. You're still peeling it. But at the core of me, that was how I moved through. People loved me. I had groups of people all over the place, but it was because I was constantly, chronically pleasing, but actually not really happy with myself. And that was a huge part of like being in an intuitive training for me was hard. It wasn't easy. I would love to say like, it was great. I got everything I wanted. I hit a huge wall of emotional like energy that I had to break down. And so I just took more classes. I got more readings by teachers to help me, support me. I had nightmares come back that hadn't come back since I was a little kid. Started flooding back, and I was like, why is this opening up again? I thought this was supposed to take this away. And it's like, you have to move through the energy to get to the other side. You can't just like skip something. You have to move through it and feel a level of seniority over that energy before you can actually let it go.
So let's double down on that for a second, because that's a really great thing to talk about. Repression the idea of carrying baggage. I mean, these are terms you hear all the time about people not letting go of things, burying things instead of actually dealing with them. It sounds a lot like a lot of this is very energy based.
Yeah.
And that you can think you've moved through something, but really you've just maybe pushed it behind you so you don't see it anymore. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
So let's say you have an abuser, and let's say you go through therapy or you go through any form of healing that abuse. You move it out, right? You're not thinking about the abuse. You can actually talk about it without crying. You don't have an emotional reaction to it anymore. However, because of that abuse, you programmed yourself to, let's say, always say yes. Or, I'm not going to be outgoing because the last time I was outgoing, I got X, Y, or Z happened. And that programming is still there. Even though you may have healed the abuse, the programming is still very present. And that's like, there's so many layers to that abuse. The abuse could be the core of it. You can take the core out of an onion, then you got all the layers still. So no matter which way you slice it, if you start at the core and you work yourself outwardly from the core, the abuse, outwardly, you still got to work it. Or if you work it from the outside in, there's no way around it. There's programming, I feel, attached to heavy things that we experience. And here's the really complex thing. It's not only our own stuff. We inherit our family's pain. And my family had a very humble beginnings and had a lot of pain. And a lot of that I carried as a cape, as a survivor, as a light. I'm the light in the family, no matter what we encounter. But I was holding on to that in my body as if it was like some kind of armor. But it's not. In fact, it put an armor on my body and then separated me from my spirit. Because then the armor becomes more senior energy, more important than my own energy coming in to heal my body and become more than the pain that I've witnessed or have experienced. And that's where it gets really tricky, because I think a lot of times we're taught to like, remember the pain, be attached to that. That's part of you. Yeah, that's something you experience, but it isn't your energy. Your energy is actually the richest thing you can have in your body. And it gets really hard when like you're supposed to honor someone's hard work, pain that they went through for you to survive, for you to be here. And that's all real as well, but living from that pain doesn't actually like line up to, at least for me, for my spirit, to have the highest level of joy, love, and gratitude I can be in. Because then you only gravitate towards people that are in pain, and that's not fun.
How long did it take for you to work through everything, all these layers that you're talking about? Are you still having to work through things?
100%. It's just, I always say, it's not that it goes away, it's that you become bigger than the energy. It's kind of like having a nightmare, right? Oh, before I used to like wake up in sweats and cry and I need to be held and I need to wake someone else up to hold space for me, where now I can wake up and be like, okay, interesting. Let me go into meditation and see what that was. It's different. The effect of it isn't on me. The struggles are not the same. When I think of scarcity now, because I come from very humble beginnings, scarcity will come into my space and I'll be like, ooh, I really shouldn't get that. And I was like, wait, let me check in with myself. Why am I hitting that energy? Okay, we have a big bills coming in. Okay, I get why I'm hitting that. Is this really a problem? Or am I okay to go get my lashes done? Right? Or am I going to get in trouble? But there is no trouble. That's an old programming that I have to choose between food or lashes. That's not real anymore. The realness is, oh, I'm hitting scarcity. Cool. I'm going to meditate and move that energy out because it's coming in because I'm trying to do something, in quotes here, I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to save all the money, be in this box of programming of you're not going to have enough. So hold on to what you have when that's not real to me anymore. My body thinks that that's very real still, but not as much as it did 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And I think at a certain level, you start to get bigger than the energy. And something that used to tower over you, now you tower over it. And it's small. And eventually it becomes so small that it's like, oh, let me just move it out really quick.
When you started learning how to do all of these things for yourself, did it feel like you were stepping into a new reality, or that you were kind of living between two different realities? Because, I mean, you're still working your regular job that probably, I assume has stress and things that go with it. But then you're also learning these new things and seeing this other way that the world could be, or that your reality could be. Did you experience that?
So, yes, I did, because I felt really alone on the journey. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have fear of that aloneness. But at the same time, it also woke me up that, like, oh, yes, the school is providing, like, structure and safety for me to learn this. But actually, the reason why I was good at my job, the reason why I was always a good leader, it wasn't because I was a good leader. It's because I was always reading people and I just wasn't aware.
Right.
I was looking at people and be like, oh, they would excel in this, because I thought I was really watching them. It wasn't that I was watching them. It's I was reading them, and I had no idea I was reading them. So it validated my abilities that I tried to shove down for so long that it felt like scary, that intuitive part of you or the psychic part of you. I was like, I don't identify with that, right?
It strikes me as interesting that, we're talking about this right now, and we're essentially talking about, you had these two worlds, these two ways of thinking. You had the cultural, media-driven way of thinking, the everyday normal, I'm the one using the quotes now, lifestyle. And then you have this side hustle going on where you're learning how to be yourself and these tools to assist you. And yet it's the one that's classified as normal, there's those air quotes again, that's dragging you down, all the while this new thing that many might ridicule is raising you up above it and protecting you from all of this negativity that's in your life. Is that kind of what led you to do what you're doing now, as far as with the school and everything like that, giving that to others?
Yeah, I think for me, I knew when I learned, there's this tool that you learn, like imagine a gold sun and you fill in. And when I experienced that, which is the very first meditation class, I was like, oh my God, I have to tell everybody. And my own business I call Psychic Shine. And that was very intentional, because the word psychic is so charged and there's so many like judgment on it. And I know that part of my purpose on this planet is to bring the glow back to that, to ignite people to be curious of it. You may not agree with it, it may not feel comfortable, and that all of that is okay, but there is a sense of shining that happens when you connect to your abilities, especially when you connect to your spirit. And so I didn't know I was going to be a teacher in this straight away. I didn't know that. Even when they put me in front of a group to teach, I still didn't know that. Because I was just riding this wave of like, whatever, I can't do this. This can't pay my lifestyle off, right? And and I've been doing this for 14 years, and it wasn't until 4 years ago that I finally was able to step away from my full-time job to do this full-time. But I've been teaching for 12 years as a side. Before 4 years ago, I was teaching as a side hustle. I would work during the day and teach at night.
Wow.
And it didn't feel overwhelming, but my job felt overwhelming. And it wasn't because they weren't good people. It was just like, it was moving so slow. It was moving so slow. And I was like, and I had, colleagues that just have such a hard time. And I was like, man, if you could just ground, this wouldn't be this hard. But that wasn't necessarily accepted in that same way. But I learned ways to bring some of the work I did and just change the language into corporate language to make them feel more comfortable, to enhance people that wanted to take a step. But to be honest, I don't think I was ever meant to work in a corporation. I think I did that. I set myself up in spirit to do that, to do the work I'm doing now. So I can, listen, I ran $1 million companies. I want to have $1 million company. I was giving the best of my energy outwardly to a company, and they were great people. The owner is lovely. But I wasn't getting paid $1 million. And I'm not saying I'm here for the money, but I want to teach people how to get their biggest dreams. Because I come from some humble beginnings, hell yeah, I want to make money. But I also want to witness people have whatever it is that they want to have, like love. How so many people come to this planet and feel so lonely, don't feel love in their family group, in relationships. And to teach someone to love is to teach them how to love themselves first. And that sounds so cheesy, but there's an absence of connection to yourself. And that absence is where someone like me comes in. It's like, hey, I got the glue. Let me show you. Let me show you. The glue lasts forever if you wanted to, but it's a choice. It's not something you just like one and done. You have to meditate every day, just like going to the gym.
You have to exercise to be better. And also, like we've talked about in other episodes, it's really about that whole idea of self. Like, it's not selfishness. It's like energizing and building up the self so that you can give to others properly and not hurt them or destroy yourself in the process.
Right. And I don't think there's anything like witnessing someone experience their own energy. There's nothing in the world like it. It's the most profound experience I get to have over and over by teaching this stuff or having that be in a session, and witnessing someone do that is such an intimate experience. And most of the time they're not even aware of what's really what step they really took. And it's such a huge step to trust yourself and give more of your own energy to your body, to really fill in this vessel you're in with yourself versus all the shit that's outside of us. That to me is like, I want to say magic, but it's not even, that to me is more real than the clocking in and clocking out.
And that's interesting that you phrase it that way, and I love it because, you know, one of the things that's difficult about going through a journey like this, just coming from a skeptic background, 50 years before any of this shows itself in my life, it's hard to take the step to talk to others about it. There's all this preconceived notion about things like psychic, medium, even meditation.
Yeah.
And we see cultural books in the cultural consciousness, and meditation's right in the title. And, you know, in that case, they're talking about the very like base level of what that truly means. It's like, okay, I'm going to calm myself, I'm going to quiet my thoughts, and I'm going to exist for a few moments. But it's been so whitewashed to fit within cultural and religious and, you know, political norms that people don't realize when they do these things or have these experiences happen to them. They really have already stepped over that line. They just don't realize where the line is.
Right.
So for someone to say, oh, well, I meditated and I saw the face of God. Okay, let's work with that.
Right.
But that sometimes is too much for people to even deal with. What would be like your best recommendations for someone who, out of the blue, something completely random happens, but that is just so undeniable that they can't come back over that line without forcing a part of them into a box?
Yeah, I think, okay, I know, actually. When it comes to doing this kind of work, there are so many styles of meditation, and they will all lead you to a destination. You'll feel and you'll know what is for you to take, what is your path when you're in it, but you have to try them. And I think once you pass that threshold, either if it's manifesting something that you're like, holy shit, like that was my threshold. Like grounding and all the other tools were great, they were cool, but and even connecting to myself was cool, but getting that manifestation, that was my, all right, we're going full force here. Mm-hmm. When you cross that or experience something that you're like, wait a minute, something real is happening here, I always tell people, follow the energy. Ask yourself what feels good to you and then continue. Because I don't think I have everyone's answer. I don't think anyone has anyone else's answer. It's such a trust act, and we're so programmed to go externally to look for answers that's not going to work. Unless that's what you want to, how you want to experience it, then hey, if you want a guru, then find one that you feel aligned to. But you're still going to have to ask yourself, is this my person? So it always goes back to asking yourself, is this the way I want to go? And continue it and follow the energy. Like, You don't have to go into effort in this arena. If you choose that you want to go forward and you're like, you can't go backwards because you know that, okay, something is real and it's something you can't really explain, cool, then go forward. And what path led you to feel that? And can you continue on that path? Is there someone that can show you or teach you? I think being held in a container to learn feels safe to me. However, people do this on their own all the time. And if that lines up, then you line it up that way. And things will line up to you, but you just have to choose to want to let those things line up to you.
It sounds like a lot of the journey is, we call it doing the work.
Yeah.
There's a real sense to it that it's not going to be handed to you. Like, you may have an original experience that comes out of the blue and that feels like a gift, or it could feel like a curse, I imagine, depending on where you are. Mm-hmm. The road ahead is not just every day you get given something new. You have to settle into yourself. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to listen to yourself, and you have to sort of feel your way. Mm-hmm. And does that ever end, or does that continue to be a lifelong journey?
I think it's a journey, but I think it does get, the more you learn, and hopefully the more you trust yourself, the easier things line up to you versus you having to go out and do some legwork. Sometimes things line up to you, like the Reiki healer telling me I'm going to be a spiritual teacher literally 5 years before that even happened. I never revisited Reiki again after that. I didn't see her for Reiki. I saw her to see that card. Yeah. Right? The Reiki was great, don't get me wrong. I didn't want to get regrounded. I threw a fit about it. I was like, don't touch my feet. She was like, I have to ground you, because I had no idea what that was, right? I had no concept. But then when I was in the school, there was a few times I tried to drop out because my nightmares came back, or because I couldn't afford the next training. And so the school supported me in many different ways. They were like, we'll do a trade. You can clean the school, take care of this month's payment, right? I didn't ask for that. It appeared. What I did do, though, is choose to sign up. I signed a form. I agreed to do this. I told my body, we're doing this shit. I don't know how we're going to do it, how we're going to afford it, how we're going to move forward, but I'm trusting that we're going to move forward.
So it's the action that is really not just intention is important.
Yeah.
Always, but that the intention isn't even just enough. You have to act on it, and you have to act on it truthfully.
Yeah, be honest with yourself, being like, I can commit 2 hours a week to meditate, even if it's on your own. The 2 hours don't have to be consecutively. It could be 20 minutes every day, right? You're committing to that. If there's no commitment from you to move forward in your path, how can you expect anyone else to commit to you or your journey or help you along? If there's a lack of trust there, you have to build that trust sometimes. Like, it was really challenging for me to build that trust. My spirit knew I'm going to get her hooked if I get her something she really wants. And that's how my spirit hooked me. But for someone else, it might be like, man, I really wish I could trust myself. And then all of a sudden they have this, like, something's telling me to go left, and they go left and they meet the love of their life. And then they're in the program. Or it could be, hey, something's telling me I need to go to the doctor, and I just tried grounding and something's wrong, and you go to and something is wrong. Okay, you trusted yourself. And even though you're probably going to go through a bumpy road, something is wrong, you trusted yourself. So keep trusting yourself, because it's leading you to heal yourself, even if it's bumpy.
And that's another great idea that goes along with all of this, is that once you make that connection, once you're walking that trail, it isn't just a perfectly flat, no inclines, no curves, no random bears showing up on the path. Like, that stuff's going to happen.
Yes.
You're going to have dark days, rainy days. It's going to be tough. But that doesn't mean that the choice to walk that trail was a bad one. It just means that that's the way trails operate. And so it's just something you need to work through. Do you find that those kind of things that happen to people where they hit those negative roadblocks, that those generally tend to come from some sort of baggage or negativity that maybe their higher self has been just waiting for them to manifest so that they can work
Totally.
through it. It's like,
Totally.
it's not random.
It's
like,
not a coincidence.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah, there's no coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. Something is happening. You're having an experience, regardless of how. Like, also, I want to preface this because I think it's important. I don't think that there's bad experiences. I think that some experiences are more challenging because you have to get through bigger energy. But I don't think it's bad. Sometimes those heavy or experiences that are more challenging to move through are what bring you the most freedom at the other side of it. So I don't want to put a label on it of it being bad. It's more of it being more of a challenge because perhaps it's rooted in a belief system that isn't your belief system. Maybe something you inherited, maybe something you picked up, right? It's so easy right now to get programmed because so much stuff is coming in through social media, television. There's all these personas people want to follow, and it's so easy to get programmed, and you can get rooted in this level of perfectionism or what you should be doing, that when you hit something that rubs against that, oh, this is really bad, this is making me feel really bad. No, I think you're rubbing against something you're trying to clear, right? Like, my teeth are not perfect. And for a long time, I was like, oh, I can't do any videos. I can't talk online. I was like, oh, that's stupid. That's not my truth. Yeah, my teeth are messed up, but that shouldn't have judgment or limit me in my communication because I have something rich to communicate, and I think it'll naturally connect to people that want to hear that. And I had to do a lot of work on myself, and I have 14 years of doing this, but this is just in the recent year that I've gotten more comfortable. My teeth, they still bother me, of course, and of course I want to get them fixed, but that's a personal thing and money and all that, but it's not stopping me from being seen in the world, right? Like, that was a hurdle, but I was hitting and rubbing against, like, all these perfect people online. Oh my God, they have so many followers. Oh my God, they look so great. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh, I can't do this work. I can't be online. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's not me. My own energy would never talk me off of something I want. And that's how I triggered, oh, I'm hitting some shame. What is the shame attached to? What is my next step of clearing it? Okay, it's in a bucket. I cleared 20% of the bucket. Next week, maybe I'll clear 5, maybe I'll clear 20. And giving myself the grace to know, like, this is a growth period. And I'm not going to not do it. I'm just going to work through it and figure it out as I go. Because the truth is, I don't have shame. I don't want to be in shame. I am not shameful. I just have history. Everyone has history. And that's okay. I get to have a human experience and be imperfect. But the energy that comes in try to shut me down. And I think we all hit that. I feel if you don't hit that, then you're not doing something.
Not challenging yourself.
No, like, if you don't hit a challenging energy when you're trying to heal your body, something is not clicking. You should be hitting those big energies because they exist in your body. If you're avoiding them, you're stumping your growth.
And in a lot of ways, it sounds like many of the barriers that people run into on a daily, yearly, lifelong basis maybe aren't quite what they think they are, and that they're more important to deal with than to go around or push them behind them, because they'll just come back later.
Exactly. Like my teeth. I put that shit on the shelf. I was like, I'll deal with you later. And now we're at later, and I'm like, okay, I got to deal with this. Mm-hmm. But in trying to deal with it, simultaneously trying to go like online and do all these events and talk to people, and I'm like, oh, how interesting that this is the only way I can do it is simultaneously. If I try to do one without the other, it wouldn't work. And that's just how I work. I have to have my attention spread at a bigger map to heal versus narrow. If I do narrow, I'm more likely to resist it and pause, which is why my teeth took so long to fix. So I was like, I'll focus on my teeth. I'm not going to focus on my teeth. Right? And that's how I came to be where I am now, is that avoided energy. And I was fully aware I was doing it, but I still kept doing it because I just kept, I want to teach. I'll do this. I want to do this event. I'm busy. I can't do that now. And now I'm like, okay, bitch. It doesn't matter if you're busy. Get your shit together. All of it. Both at the same time. And I just work better under pressure that way. That's how I work better as like in a body. in spirit, my spirit's like, I'm really going to kick your ass for doing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
My spirit's like, well, this could have been done so much easier. Mm-hmm. But my body just was like, no, let's do it the rough way.
So it's interesting, listening to you talk. It feels like what I'm hearing is, people talk a lot about the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And people tend to really, really get into the idea of the path of least resistance always seems to be either easy or positive, but in reality, all those dark experiences, those problematic, challenging experiences, as you put it, in a lot of ways they show up in front of us and get right on our faces because that too is the path of least resistance. You're having it put in front of you for a reason. You're meant to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And even though it seems like it's going to be difficult and hard, it's worth pushing through and doing the work instead of setting it off to the side,
right,
because it will just keep coming back. Do you find that that's something that students you deal with, people you work with,
100%.
That's something that they're running into a lot of time? That like the answer sometimes is just, we'll deal with it. Like you need
move
to
through it.
Yes, you need to to work through this.
Totally. I think it's a very common thing. I mean, it's a human experience is what that is. But moving through it is usually the answer. Now, don't get me wrong, there's sometimes that it's like a hard no, like I'm not working with that person, right? Like not me working with someone, but like someone is hitting an energy like, I want to take this job, but my body keeps saying no, I shouldn't take it, but it's everything I ever wanted. And I could read the energy and be like, oh, you don't want to take it because you're going to handle triple the responsibility. Let's see if your body can handle it. And most of the time their body's like, hell no. And their spirit's like, who cares? Let's do it. Your spirit and body sometimes aren't in agreement. And that can get that then causes resistance too. But let's say it's like a relationship and you're having problems in a relationship and you're in avoidance. That's probably not going to work. You have to like move through it, and it's going to be challenging moving through it because you at the other side you have to have an answer. Stay with this person, friendship or partner, or step away. And that's not easy if you love someone or if there's history there, but it might be worth moving through it because it's occupying a lot of energy. And you need that energy to actually have an evolution in your body. But like my teeth have been holding like 20% of my energy. And I'm trying to create all these great things. I'm like, I don't have any energy and here's the funny thing. Shannon's like, well, you got like 20% on your teeth. So like you can fix your teeth and get more energy back, just saying. We've been talking about your teeth for a while now, right? I was like, yeah, you're right, I guess so. Right? But like that can happen in relationships. If you're not moving through it to clear it, and listen, the more you move through energy, the easier it gets. But if the more you resist it, the more it builds. And it makes it harder and harder. I've had students quit a training and try and come back, and it's really hard because energy is built between them and the training, and they can't get back in because they have to clear a mile of energy before they can get into the door. And it's just because there was so much energy that was going to clear initially in the training. And that's why they didn't join, because they're like, I'm terrified if I have to separate out from my family and have my own answers. What does that mean? That's scary. And they're like, fuck that, and they leave. And then they try and come back, but now there's all this energy between them. And also that they still have to clear that picture, that energy. It's like, I have to have my own answers? What?
So we're talking about that as energy.
Yeah.
So we're using that word when we're talking about this, but it doesn't manifest as some sort of readable energy. We're not talking about seeing an aura. We're not talking about, feeling your way. I mean, maybe sometimes you are, but this energy manifests itself. So when we're talking about dealing with energy and working through energy, all these things, that energy shows itself as the bear on the trail.
Right.
It's not like you have some higher thing you need to reach and work out. You run into these things all the time, whether you're cognizant of them or not.
Right.
And it's recognizing that those are the barriers that are a part of this to work through to get to the other side. And it's not some magical solution where someone's going to wave a magic wand or you're going to wave a magic wand and just casually make it disappear. This is energy manifesting in the real world as real things that you need to deal with in a real way.
Totally.
Okay.
Like someone applying for a job and being like, you need a degree to get that position, and you don't have a degree, and you're like, well, I'm not even going to apply. Okay, that's one way. You know how many jobs I've gotten that needed a degree, and I have 0 degrees? It wasn't because maybe I read the energy, but I know how to do the job. I believe in myself, right? This is no different. If you're trying to move and get more centered and have your own answer and evolve as a human with your spirit connection, then you have to follow through the energy. Apply for the job you don't have the degree for, and what's going to happen? The absolute worst is they don't call you back.
You don't get the job.
You have nothing to lose and everything to gain in moving through the energy. The resistance of that example I give is because someone is afraid of not being accepted, of not being good enough. And that's the bear in the road. And that bear in the road isn't just showing up in that application. It's probably showing up in your relationships. It's probably showing up in how you see yourself. It's showing up in how you show up for people. You know, that affects everything.
It's essentially as if you are part of the bear. And it's not just that this bear is in the road, but you and that bear.
You may have planted food for the bear.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So it's part of that. Fascinating. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, because in an ideal world, the easiest thing would be to say, okay, I'm aware of this, I'm going to work through it, and it'll be hard, but it'll be better on the other side. But as a human,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm going to take my first step out on that rickety bridge, and we're going to watch a few planks fall into the roaring river down below, and I'm going to have to hop a little bit. I mean, it's not just, okay, I'm going to sit, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to clear this out, and I'll be fine in about 30 minutes. It doesn't work that way. But if you can really kind of get introspective about how good this is going to be for me once I go through and do the work and face that bear.
Or learn to be neutral to the bear. If you can learn, and so the style of meditation you do is active meditation. So if you're meditating and all of a sudden you start thinking about your dad, and as a teacher, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to be like, clear your mind, empty your mind. No. In fact, I'm going to be like, why is your dad showing up? And investigate. And then escort him out down your grounding.
Yeah.
Not in a punishing way, not because he's wrong, but why is it coming up? Because it's coming up when you're quieting your space. And if you're quieting your space and that's coming up, it's because you have to look at it. So look at it through your seeing self, right? Your clairvoyance, or just out of curiosity, out of imagination. Why is my dad's energy coming up? Oh, I've been thinking about his struggle, right? Or what if you're thinking about your job? So many people are thinking about work when they're not at work. Why? You're trying to sit and have a quiet moment for yourself and get energy moving in your body and connect to yourself, and you're thinking about work. What is it about work that's coming up? Why is it important at this moment? Acknowledge it. Don't make yourself wrong or punish yourself over it. And then put in a container and move it out. Park it outside for the next 20 minutes while you meditate. And then something else might come up again. So it's not about necessarily quiet. It's about getting aware of where your attention has been and bringing it back to you. Because if you are punishing yourself for not quieting your mind, that's not going to help you. And if you're judging yourself for where your energy's been, that's also not going to help you. It's about getting neutral to the bear, to what you're experiencing, to what's moving through you, and then moving it out, and then connecting to yourself again. And if it happens again, then you do it again. And with time, it becomes less and less. There will be days that it's busier. If you're going to a family reunion, good luck. You know, that you're going to have to move them out before and after probably. And maybe even somewhere in between. I've gone to family functions and I go to the bathroom and I'm like, I don't really have to pee. I'm just going to sit in here and ground.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
and like use some of my
10
tools. And then I come out and I feel brand new. Because what happens is you can lose, I call it losing your space, when you are having an emotional reaction to something. And that's not wrong, but if you're trying to stay neutral and you're having an emotional response, you're not neutral. And so to get neutral and get through the energy more, you might have to meditate like 20 times a day, 10 minutes every single time. When I talk about my teeth or when I go to the dentist, I'm in meditation. I have headset on blasting music, and I'm working my tools. I actually did this during a tattoo because I was getting a tattoo right here, and this whole tattoo, while the guy was doing the tattoo, I have tons of tattoos everywhere. I pushed the ink out of my body. So when I woke up the next day, I barely had a tattoo. And when I came back the next day, he's like, I don't want you to meditate while I'm tattooing you.
Yeah.
You're messing up my tattoo.
Let me do my job.
Right? Yeah. But that's an example of like, oh, let's say this tattoo was the bear. That bear could be gone by the next day if I put my attention on it and I was intentional about moving the energy.
Well, and the other side of that, too, is the fact that that bear is also related to the tattoo artist who has a job to do.
Yeah, and he's pissed at me.
If the bear's not getting moved out, then he's not finishing up his job. He has other things to do, too. So it just shows the connectedness, the interconnectedness of all of this, that even when you're out dealing with your own stuff, in a way, you're also dealing in other people's stuff, too. You know, so you sitting around and procrastinating on certain things could be leaving an anchor on someone else's porch that's dragging them down for a while too.
But they have a mock-up to have that experience because it's not a coincidence. That tattoo artist, that happened because he probably wants to learn this style of meditation.
So everything's connected.
Like he wanted to have that experience as much as he didn't. Mm-hmm. As much as his body said no, his spirit brought me to him for a reason. Mm-hmm. I say that because I personally know him and know his journey. But his body has a lot of resistance. And he's not wrong. That's just his journey. I don't know where he is now in life, but then it was competitive. He was practicing a different form of meditation than I was. I didn't have a problem with his style of meditation. I was like, that's your answer. I have my own. There's no problem. But it wasn't giving him the results he wanted. And I was fast-tracking my life in a way, and I was new to the game. And he was angry. Like, how I've been doing this for 10 years. How are you doing? How are you getting your life so quickly? Well, this is working for me. I tried yours. It didn't work. It didn't feel real in my body. But it was this style of meditation of like transcendent, like leaving. And my problem was I can leave my body anytime. My problem was I didn't know how to stay in my body, which is why this style of meditation helped me. And I think he had a similar energy, but, you know, ego takes over at a certain point and you're like, I've given this 10 years of my life. Yeah. I'm going to keep going. Sure. And that's okay. That's not wrong. That in this lifetime, that's his, who knows? I don't know where he is now. I hope that he's happy and living his best life. But in that experience, I was like, wow, how fascinating. Because I looked at it. Because there was a hint of guilt. And I was like, wait, no. Yeah. I'm not going to feel guilty for this. Why am I feeling guilty? And I was like, oh, his spirit really does want to know how to heal with the way I heal. His spirit is very curious, but his body is like, no, and that's okay. So when I went back to get the tattoo, I just like was chill, neutral. I didn't do any meditation, but I couldn't wait to get out of there because I could feel the heat coming off of him. Like, I can't believe I have to see you again.
Yeah.
And how are you getting to have this life, right?
So speaking of journeys, we've heard of a lot of people in the last several years having these more quote-unquote spontaneous awakenings like what Will went through. First, have you seen people like this in your classes or through your work? And why do you think that that's happening? Or has it always happened and we're just more aware of it because of maybe social media and things like that?
I think they've always been happening. Especially the spontaneous ones. I just don't think there was enough permission on a planetary vibration to share it. I think we're going through an evolution as humanity that there's a lot more permission on the realm of spirit to share it in your body, to be like, hey, this happened to me, right? Yeah. Like I've had conversations with you guys today that would never be recorded, by the way. But I would never normally share those, but I think there's more permission and a lot more safety activated, even though it feels really unsafe on the planet right now. I think in spirit, we're evolving. And so there's this thing happening of like, either you do it or you don't do it. And so I think a lot more people are like, I'm doing it. and they're not even aware that their spirit's like, activate now. And then all of a sudden you're on a bridge and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Right?
Pressing the button, the engine is like sputtering, but it's not quite catching. Yeah, well, and you know, there's a feeling like this could all be heading towards something, some grand thing that's happening. But there's almost a feeling inside it too that it's going to happen anyway, and it's not going to be like the grand opening of the new Walmart down the street where everyone shows up and they cut a ribbon and the mayor's there, and it's happening. And if you're on the sideline right now, waiting, hedging your bets, okay, well, I won't do this until I know that everyone else is doing it. Mm-hmm. Like somehow you're missing out on something, because there is a very secretive nature to all of this. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast, is we wanted to give a safe space for people to just come and listen. Maybe they don't have someone to talk about these things with or to go through these things, but this at least gives them the space to live in that and seek out on their own without having to out themselves about what's going on. And I mean, I know that's true because I certainly haven't outed this to a whole lot of people in my life.
Right.
But I know I'm going through it. I know I want to go through it. And I know I want to see it through whether I actually get to some sort of end zone or not. What would you say from your positions as spiritual teacher to those that have been hesitant to let it in and to roll with it?
To lead with curiosity and playfulness, because this kind of work doesn't actually move or change anything if you're stuck in the fear. And it's really easy to say don't get stuck in the fear, but if you lead with curiosity and a playfulness and amusement, the path starts to help open up for you and things start lining up, so it's not as hard to start the process. That doesn't mean you're not going to hit energy that you have to work through, but if you're leading with curiosity and you're allowing yourself to be curious and just, you know, my vacation got canceled, what's sensory deprivation, you know, what's microdosing? Like I've done all the things before I did the thing. None of those work, but then I eventually found it. So keep trying different things until you have your body say, yes, let's try that again.
Well, and it's surprising too. I love that you had your experiential vacation where you were like trying all these different things, because a couple of weeks ago, for the first time, I tried what's called access concentration bars. Mm-hmm. And as it was happening, the woman who was doing it was saying, oh my goodness, you have so much generational trauma that you've been carrying. The poor woman, her and I had been talking Reiki and energy work and everything, so she was asking me, you know, hey, can we talk while we're doing this? Because I don't ever talk to anyone. And I was like, yeah, let's talk while we're doing this. And so when she was saying that, and I said, I had no idea. Can you tell me more? You know, I had no idea that I'd been carrying anything throughout my life. And she just started crying because it was all flowing through her. And I felt bad, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry I'm making you feel this way. And she's like, it's not you. And she said, it's my pleasure doing this, though, for you. But I think so many people, we're carrying things, and we have no idea that we're even carrying them. And trying out these new things that, you know, same thing. I was just curious. I had never heard of it before. And how at the end of it, I felt like a little kid. I mean, we went out to dinner and I'm swinging my legs and stuff, and I felt so light. Mm-hmm. And there's all these amazing things that people can try that are accessible, and you just have to be curious and go and try them.
Yes. You know, first of all, thank you for sharing that experience, because that is beautiful. Mm. And that's real. Yeah. Carrying generational trauma is a real thing. But I teach this workshop, it's called Chakra Spin. And the reason it came to formation because even before I went to psychic school, I've always been like super addicted to music, like intensely. Like all my friends are going away when I was in grammar school on vacations. And I was like, well, I'm going to get cultured by listening to a different station. And back then you use a tape recorder, and I would tape record stations, and I made myself take turns with every station, even the polka and classical. Like, I went to every single station. And then even now, I listen to a lot of music that I don't speak the language. Like, I'm bilingual with Spanish, but I don't speak Portuguese. I don't speak a lot of, I mean, there's so many languages. I don't speak French. But my music, there's very rarely do I have English music. And so anyways, I don't listen to music because I'm like, ooh, this is good. I listen to music because I find it to be the language of spirit. And so I developed this chakra spin, and I would just on a whim. I was like, let's see what happens. I've been playing with this. It's kind of like the idea of a spin cycle class.
Okay.
But it's a chakra you're focusing on, right? And I make a playlist designed for that chakra. Each chakra has like attributes to it, right? So like, let's say your fourth chakra, that's affinity, love for yourself, love for others, and your identity. And I made a playlist. And so I went to the school, I presented it to Shannon. I've got to come back to this too for a minute. Shannon, the woman, so she's the director and founder of the school I teach at, Clarity School. She's the one who gave me my tour when I first went to the school. That's the only time I saw her at this school. She moved to California a week later, and I never saw her again until 10 years later when I moved to Portland. And she was starting the school.
And she was the one staring at you, right?
She was the one staring at me. So I forgot to say that. I wanted to loop around earlier, but isn't that wild?
Yeah.
No coincidences. As I presented the idea to her, like, hey, and I'm going to walk them through meditation and using the tools they learn in Energy Essentials to move energy out, but you have your eyes closed, but you can dance, you can sing, everyone's muted, and I'm playing music and like literally yelling over music what to do for each song because I'm reading the energy. And let me tell you, okay, first of all, everyone had fun. I wasn't attached to my students because I don't create that way. I don't create for people to like it. I create because it's fun for me. Yeah. If it's not fun for me creating it, then it's not going to work. And so when I finished teaching the first one, I remember I was like, I can't stay in this house. I got to get the F out of here. And I took a drive all the way to the coast, blasting the same playlist that's 75 minutes long and singing at the top of my lungs. And the most magical things happened. The most magical things. I got free lunch. I walked into this place and they're like, you're glowing. And I was like, thanks. I was wondering if fish and chips are like, it's on the house for you.
Oh my
and I was like, what? And I was like, oh my gosh. And then like my day kept going on like that. I got a gift certificate for a makeup place that I've never heard of. I was like, oh my God, yes. But it ignited me and I realized, it was around my identity. And I was always terrified to share my passion for music because I'm not a musician. What the fuck do I know about music? And I cleared that fear today. And because I cleared that fear teaching this workshop, I can go out and be seen in the world and have it all. Whatever it all was that day, right?
When we think about how we move through the world before, let's say, pre-doors opening, pre-spiritual awakening, metaphysical experience, whatever experience you have as your awakening experience.
Yeah.
We talk in real time all the time about how we feel about people around us. We talk about, you talk in business classes, you talk in college classes about how to present yourself and that you need to be up when you come into a room. If you're up when you come into a room, then people are going to think higher of you. They're going to be more attracted to come over and talk to you. When you're handing out your resume, you want it to be very positive, clean, organized. We lay out all these things as rules to be popular, to be hireable in, once again, the air quotes, the real world, and yet those principles are no different than the idea you're talking about with your spin class.
Yeah.
Is that energy washed over you. You were bathing in it as you were going out, and it brought all this other positivity to you. While many people would balk at that because it's a spiritual or metaphysical thing, it's no different than the stuff that we're taught in high school.
Right.
That we're taught at business school, we were taught how to comport ourselves when we're around other people. If we want, I mean, it's almost like we've been teaching the idea of manifesting without wanting to use the word manifest, because that has a connotation to it. And yet, both worlds, it's something that's important if you want to move through your life in a positive way.
I think, okay, I'm going to say something that's a little bit on the edge.
Say it.
It's okay. It's a good space for that.
So we're not taught that. I think it's more about control than it is condensation. We're not taught. This is not something that's new. This is not something that big wigs don't know about. This is something that you're not taught because of control. Because if you're taught that you can manifest everything and that you can actually move through energy and that you don't have to be in the trauma and in the pain of the world and you can unmatch from that, what does that mean? That you're powerful. And nobody wants you to be powerful when there's a certain percentage of people that need to stay on the top. Quotes here. I think we're not taught that because you can't outgrow the position you've been born into on purpose. I think that's intentional. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think it's because psychic has a lot of word on it. Because this is going back to Romans. This is going behind that. This is going back to Egyptian. Like, it has always existed. We just evolved into a level of control versus freedom.
Interesting.
That's my perspective on it. Because I do think people that do make good money, people that excel, a good portion of them have a healer in their back pocket.
They're doing this.
They're either doing it or have someone doing it for them, reading them, healing them. I can't release names this way, but I know that that's happening. I know that is something that's happening. There's always been a healer. I mean, if you think about the Romans, they had prophets. Mm-hmm. And look at how they took over. That wasn't just because they were good strategic. They had someone reading it, seeing it. We are not taught this because you would be empowered. This would cause everyone to have their own answers. And we don't live in a world that you're trained to have your own answer.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, to take it a step further, it's hard to incentivize and monetize something when you hold all the cards.
Yep.
Everyone holds all the cards.
Right.
Then no one has anything to hold over someone else to get the cash flow moving,
exactly,
to get the power position, to lord over others. And that's the through line.
Yeah.
You see kind of like tentacles through that. I mean, even going back to talking about the Salem witches.
Right.
Those were women who weren't hurting anyone. They
right.
were just living their lives. But it was so important that they be rooted out and destroyed instead of isolating them, sending them somewhere else. And it's not because they themselves are dangerous. It's the things they knew and could teach others that were dangerous. That's a huge
concept.
Well, it's a controversial idea for many people, because obviously those people have the control. They're in those positions. They don't want people to have their own power. And this is a way for you to harness that and step out of a lot of the negativity that we're feeling now on a regular basis, to give yourself something else, even if it is lowest rung, a safe space.
Exactly.
Because once everyone has safety, they can move forward.
Exactly. If everyone knew how to ground themselves, not through money, not through a house, just anywhere. You can ground on an airplane. Ground anywhere where you exist. That would change the human experience entirely.
And don't you think that that's already, I feel like that's already starting to happen? I don't care for social media, but something that social media has done is yoga is a very mainstream thing now. Meditation is a very mainstream thing now. You've got people on TikTok and Instagram and all these socials that are talking about everything from mediumship to tarot cards to witchcraft, and it's fine.
Right.
It's not, that's scary and get rid of it or anything. It's more and more people. I mean, I hear people that are my mom's age that are like, I think I identify as a green witch. And it's like, well, more power to you. But as a child, they would never have said that.
It would have been a whisper.
Right. And so I feel like the energy is building and building, and people are waking up, and there is this foundation that is building that younger generations, it's going to be easier and easier and more accepting. And I really hope in my lifetime that our society is very different looking than it is today. And I think it will be. I just trust my gut that it will be, and we'll all be here to witness it in our lifetimes.
That would be amazing.
All right, Sheyla, so we're wrapping up here. If people want to get in contact with you, if they want to take classes, if they want to enter your orbit to learn from you, how do they go about doing that?
Sure, you can find me at psychicshine.com, and I teach at Clarity School, all remote, all online, internationally. So reach me when you can.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
You've been listening to the Endless Song Podcast with Will and Emily. Today's music, Everything Feels New and Alternative Ways by Evgeny Bardyuja. Stay safe out there, everyone. And remember, intentions matter. So be thoughtful, be kind, and be better every day. And we'll see you out there on the trails. What are we gonna do this week? We're gonna bring Sheyla back on the show, and she's gonna tell us cool stories. And we're gonna learn all kinds of stuff, and it's just gonna be fun. You guys are gonna love it.